jokes? Right, great. Well, welcome back, everyone, and happy to see all of you. I was just saying it's really nice also to see people in the Zendo here, really wonderful. So it's my pleasure to introduce Linda Waring, who is a Zen priest here. And before that, in another lifetime, I know she has worked as a nurse at Cook County General Hospital. She has worked at Misericordia for a very long time. That was most of her, I think, her nursing life. So it is really a pleasure to have her join us. She's currently the president of our board of directors as well. So, and she is a dear friend. So take it away, Linda.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Oh. So you've all given up an hour of your Sunday morning just to listen to me. Well, I thank you. I thank you for that gift of yourself and of your time. This is about the selfish act of giving. So, well, what is that? Well, I kind of made it up, really. It sounds like an oxymoron. After all, generous people aren't usually known for being selfish. So why are we generous? Why do we care for each other? There must be something in it for the giver. There are some people in this center, who should go unnamed, who have referred to me as the resident curmudgeon. Okay. But, you know, people don't perform altruistic acts for no reason. Everybody's got their price. I'm a selfish giver, and probably all of you are a selfish giver. There is something in it for me to make it worthwhile. And what is that? It's very simple. It makes me feel good. This warm, happy glow of generosity makes you feel good enough that you want to do it again. You've heard that expression, I'm sure, if you're making a donation. They say, in order for this to be meaningful, you need to give till it hurts. Never quite understood that. It seems to me if you intentionally do something that's painful, you're not going to do it again, or at least not very often. Doing something that makes you feel good. Now, that's no small thing. That's not a cavalier statement. People do that all the time. We operate a large part of our lives doing that. We all want to be happy. We all want to feel good. We all want to do something that makes us feel good. I'm told that there are athletes that will push their bodies to an extreme because evidently when you're in pain, then your brain is going to shoot out this endorphins or dopamine or whatever, and it makes you feel good. Interesting way to drug yourself, but I don't know. I don't think you have to run 20 miles to feel good. I can get the same feeling just eating pizza. People do all sorts of things all day long to make themselves feel good, you know? Eating ice cream, having sex. Hey, some things are not so helpful, like snorting cocaine, but we all have our little ways. I was searching the internet and I came across this quote by, this guy's an economist. I have no idea who he is. I don't know anything about him. His name is James something, and Andrioni, whatever. I don't know anything about him, but I was interested in this quote. He claims that the glow of giving makes acts of generosity ultimately selfish. If feeling good, if giving feels good, how generous can it really be? Maybe gifts are just another way of using other people to make yourself feel good. Now, that's a curmudgeon. Now, I suppose that does happen once in a while, especially maybe if the giver is a pure narcissist. I prefer the theory of somebody else. His name is Matthew Ricard. Matthew is from France. He is a neuroscientist and a Buddhist monk. He's a really interesting, he's worth a Google if you get a chance. Interesting guy. But Matthew says, the fact that we feel satisfaction upon completing an altruistic action presupposes that we are naturally inclined to favor the other's happiness. If we were completely indifferent to others' fates, why would we feel so much pleasure in taking care of them? So, generosity is a selfish act. And we do it because it makes us feel good. Now, how do you acquire that? How do you learn about it? Well, probably from your parents and people around you in your life. For me, personally, I can say I learned it from my parents. The best example I can give would be Christmas morning. 6 years old, walking into the room that is full of presents that were not there when I went to bed. Never understood this Santa Claus thing too well, but hey, who am I to argue? Works. Now, my parents were equally joyful. But the interesting thing is, my parents were joyful, but they didn't get any credit. They didn't give me the gifts. Santa gave me the gifts. And I got the gifts because I was good. At least for 48 hours, anyway. I was good. However, my parents did get what they wanted. The one thing that most of us look for when we were giving a gift. They wanted that instant response. They wanted the response of unbridled joy. They wanted my sister and I to be happy. So this warm glow of giving, it feels good. Let's do it again. And there were plenty of opportunities, holidays and birthdays, graduations, baptisms. The other thing that you also learned was always say please and thank you. You got a gift you don't like, you don't want it, too bad. You always say thank you. You always show your appreciation. Why? Because remember, it's not the gift, but the thought that counts. You've all heard that, right? Okay. Now you're an adult. Now giving is on a different level. Holidays are still joyful, but you figured out that now you pay for it. You give to charities, you give to organizations that like support your cause. You give to friends in need. You give to homeless people, it's a couple of bucks at the guy in the expressway. You give to zlmc.org. And you also begin to give of yourself. You give of your time, your talents, you give a helping hand, say a kind word. I know in my family, I always knew if there was a death or some kind of minor tragedy, because my mother would bake a casserole and deliver it somewhere, along with all the other neighbors. Death was a time of casseroles. So you begin to get validation. People say thank you. They might give you a hug. to give you a thank you, a little thank you gift. Last Wednesday, June and I were at the Greater Food Bank of Chicago, and we got a tour, and they have a wall where they painted all the names of their benefactors. Now, the more money they gave, the bigger their name appeared. Okay, so you've got Joe Schmo over here in the corner, and you got the Uri Foundation. And I thought, we could do that here. I'm president of the board. I could talk them into it. If you want to give us $500,000, I'll put your name on a plaque and hang it on the wall right here in the Zendo. Right? Give us $2 million, I'll name the building after you. So you constantly get some kind of validation for being a generous person until you die. When you die, now you get the final recognition, the ultimate validation, the eulogy, and the testimonies. And people will start to talk about what a wonderful person you were. Oh, never thought of himself, do anything for anybody else, always giving, give you the shirt off his back. So, see, being generous is considered to be pretty important. It's one of the first things they look at when they're giving you a testimony anyway. So, let's pause for a moment and consider a koan. Sayatsu was the master of an important temple in Kamakura. Now, there was a need for more buildings, so a local merchant decided to donate 500 pieces of gold towards the construction. He put it all in a sack, and he gave it to Sayatsu. Sayatsu said, "All right, I'll take it." Now, the merchant, he gave Sayatsu the gold, but he was kind of disgruntled, dissatisfied with the master's attitude. You see, you can live a whole year on 3 pieces of gold, and he gave 500 pieces and never even got a thank you. So we thought, well, I'm gonna clear this up. He paused and he said to the master, "You know, in that sack are 500 pieces of gold?" And Sayatsu says, "Yeah, he already told me that." He says, "Well, even if I am a wealthy merchant, 500 pieces of gold is a lot of money. So, you want me to thank you?" replied Sayatsu. And he says, "Well, I think you should." And Sayatsu said, "Why should I? It's the giver that should be thanked. Mess that up. It's the giver that should be thankful. Sorry. Okay. It's the giver that should be thankful. So now let's take this act of generosity again, and now we're going to lift it up again. We're going to lift it up to yet another level. We should always attempt to be better than we are. So we need to take ourselves and our egos completely out of this picture. Dana Paramita is generally translated as the perfection of generosity. It's a very important teaching in this tradition, but it is one of the paramitas, so it's a very important foundation in our practice. Generosity, the spirit of generosity, is more than just giving. It's an awareness. It's an awareness that we are all part of this vast network. I'm not talking about the internet. It's an awareness of the interdependence of all things. Now, that means we are not separate from each other. Now, people will say, well, yeah, we're all in this together. I mean, we're all human after all. And I said, no, that's not it. We are interdependent, connected people, animals, your pet cats, trees, flowers, the ocean, the sun, the moon, the cosmos. We are all interconnected in kind of a, it's a flow, a general natural flow of living, a flow of life. Okay, there's no beginning, there's no end. Thich Nhat Hanh had a beautiful word for this. He calls it interbeing. Once we begin to understand this and to embody it, it will affect how you interact with the world. You begin to realize in this interdependence that other person is a part of you, because he's no longer separate by himself either. We are all related, all connected, like Indra's net. He's a part of you, and you are a part of him. We begin to change our orientation towards others, to develop more of a loving compassion towards others. Why would you not want to help someone else? They're a part of you. Now, sounds easy enough, doesn't it? But it's not, because remember, that other person is a part of you, and that can be your best friend, your partner, your parents. That's also the person you can't stand, your arch enemy. Now it's not so easy. They're a part of me? Really? Well, yes, but also remember that you're a part of them. So it can't be all that bad. This is it's a spirit of responding to the world, of giving and receiving what is needed, what is appropriate. We are continuously recipients of the generosity of everyone around us and everything around us. But we don't pay much attention because it is pretty constant. We take it for granted. I have, Kelly, if you're back there, I need my picture.
Okay, let's see.
I was going to put a picture on the screen, hopefully. That's not it. Oh, who is that? Oh, Lord. I'm like looking at yourself. There it is. Everybody can see that, I guess? Getty Images. I think that just tells you I stole this off of some site somewhere. I don't. That's a picture of a begging monk, a Buddhist monk. The Buddha instructed all of his monks and nuns that they needed to go out and beg for food. They needed to go out and beg for whatever they needed to, sustain their life. And it was a lesson. It was a lesson in how to learn and maintain humility. So they still do this, and there's a lot of temples in Asia where these monks will still do this every day. And they go out in something similar. It's some kind of 12th century outfit. I like the sandals that are made of straw and the white knickers. You could see that on a runway someday, because I've seen worse than that. But so he's got on this like black dress or whatever, and in front of him he's holding a bowl. It's called the begging bowl. It looks like a mixing bowl, it's just a big thing that he's going to go begging. People will throw stuff in the bowl. And this crazy looking hat. It would be interesting if some of you would like to volunteer, if we could do this. I mean, we can't get grass sandals, but we could wear flip-flops. We get some cheap fabric, and June will haul out her sewing machine. Make us a muumuu with a rope. We'll march down to Harlem, Irving, or Harlem and Lake Street. See, I don't know what we get, but attention. So in Asia, the monks, they walk out, and I saw this on a film on TV on Iheiji, which is a famous temple. It's full of monks and tourists. They go out once or twice a week looking like this, and they walk up to the locals, the people who live there, and of course they're all expecting them. And the local people will throw something in their bowl. They usually, rice and seaweed or whatever it is they're eating over there. And then, of course, don't forget the tourists. Is this a Photoshop or what? Don't forget the tourists, because chances are they're not going to give you rice. What's most important about this outfit is the hat. The hats come all different shapes. Sometimes they look like an inverted bell, but they're all designed for one purpose. The monk cannot see more than 3 or 4 feet in front of him. So whoever is making the donation cannot see the monk's face. And the monk, in turn, cannot see the face of the donor. Now, there's no interaction. There's no personal interaction. It's not really anonymous, but it's kind of anonymous. Now, without that interaction, there are no expectations. It's just a gift, freely given, and a gift freely received. It also, doing that act also helps to demonstrate, I think, how dependent we are on each other. Now, why is that so important? Well, let me tell you about something that happened to me just a short while ago. We have a program here that's called the Zen Heart Way. It's operated by the Priest Circle. When we hear of someone or a family that happens to be in need, we will help them out as best as we can, but we give them, sometimes we give them money, sometimes we give them things, sometimes it's books or. So we had this family that we wanted to help out. And we decided to give her a gift certificate to Walmart. The problem was she had no way of getting there. So I went to her house and picked her up. I drove her, she went shopping and drove her back. Now, of course, she's in my car and we have a conversation. The first thing she says to me is, she tells me about how grateful she is for this gift and how wonderful we are. And of course, I responded with, yes, you're welcome. We're glad to do this, yada, yada, yada. So we're driving to Walmart, just having a general conversation. She brings it up again. Between the time we left and the time we returned, she probably thanked me 12 times. Now, suppose that this interaction, thanking me again and again, that harbored something within it. You see, on my side, there was a feeling of superiority. Yes, I am a member of the Priest Circle. Aren't we kind? But on her side, there was this degrading need to ingratiate herself again and again. If we could have eliminated that personal interaction, if it could have been more anonymous, none of that would have happened. None of it. Now and only then would it have been a gift freely given and a gift freely received, because there were no expectations, not even a thank you. Now this act of generosity, all this tends to take on somewhat of a spiritual level. In Buddhism, giving embodies the practice of non-attachment. Giving something away that you value immediately reduces the amount of attachment that you have to it. It's also a great cure for greed. You know, greed being one of the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. I am attached to my bright and shining objects. I am particularly attached to my grandfather's clock. It's one of those generation gifts, you know. It passes down from one generation to the next. I die, I give it to my niece, she gives it to her son. I like my clock. It's my friend. I'll be very attached. If something happened to it, I'd be very upset. But you know what? I don't own it. I'm taking care of it. All things are impermanent, right? We've been taught that. All things are impermanent. Eventually, that clock is going to disappear. Now, it's either going to get old and fall apart, like the rest of us, or somebody's going to take it apart and take the workings are made out of bronze. They cash it in for the money, you know, or it's going to get burned up in a fire. But it's going to disappear. There's that impermanence where we realize there is really nothing that we own. We take care of something, but there's nothing that we have, nothing we can hold on to. There is no giving, no receiving, no holding on to. What is there? There's this space, or a spaciousness, that allows everything and everyone to move within it. It's like this natural flow of life, or like a river, a natural flow of living. No beginning, no end. Everything is impermanent. Everybody that you know, everybody that you love and hold dear is going to disappear. Everything that you own will go away. It all circles again and again in this flow of life. I call it a spaciousness. I don't know. Now, giving and receiving becomes easy. It's free and easy. No attachments, no judgment. There is no control. We give and receive each moment of our lives just as it is, with a trust that everything is just right. Thich Nhat Hanh, again, Thich Nhat Hanh said, if you give and continue to give, you become richer and richer all the time, richer in terms of happiness and well-being. Now, it's time for the commercial. Russia already did the commercial. To give, yes, to give to ZLMC. We have a mortgage, utilities just like you do. However, if you'd like to put a little bit of a twist on that, You go into our website, look under donations, and you'll see the program Zen Heart Way. It will tell you what it is. It will tell you some of the stories of the people that we've helped out. And there is a donation button on Zen Heart Way. If you'd like to give money just to this program, giving money on that, I don't know, that, what do they call it, dot, but put your cursor over that spot there. And then your money will be identified and it will be used just for Zen Heart Way, not to pay the mortgage. It's a program that right now it's run by the Pre-Circle. People say they want to help. One of the things that we really need, sometimes I think we need the most of, is we need connections. We need connections of those people who need our services. I guess people in our Sangha must not know very many people in need. It's been difficult to find somebody to give this service to. Now, I want to be clear here, we do not want to be part of another organization. People say, why don't you give to the homeless shelter down the street, or some school that makes backpacks, or we don't want to be part of another organization. This is a Zen program. We're going to operate it. And we're just getting started. We're open for suggestions, and we're open for your donations. So, that being said, it's spring or summer, depending on what day. The sun is shining, flowers are in bloom. I encourage all of you to get out there, bask in the warm glow of selfish giving. I guess I'm supposed to ask you, do you have any comments or questions? Be kind.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Just two comments. One is, thank you for talking about the Great Heart Way. I think maybe just saying more about it within the Sangha will heighten the awareness of it. I really appreciate that. But something you said just really struck me is you said something about us, how we are the recipient of generosity all the time. And it just really hit me. I go through my day and I don't really recognize or acknowledge all the generosity that is being afforded to me every day, all day, whether it's just my health, or whether it's my ability to go get food and the grocery store being there. I mean, it just reframed things for me to not only think about how I can be generous, but how much I'm receiving all the time, all the time. Thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. I like to say a thing about when you're in the grocery store, being thankful for the food that's in the grocery store, and talk about interdependence. Somebody had to grow it, somebody had to drive it on a truck. There are a bunch of migrant workers that probably had to pick it. It just goes on and on. There's the farmer who planted it, it's the sun and the water that grew it. Thich Nhat Hanh also has an expression when he's trying to explain interdependence. He'll hold up this sheet of paper and he'll say, "Can you see the sun?" And then traces it all the way back to all the things that had to come together in order to make a piece of paper.
Gyokuzan, that was a wonderful talk. I was glad to hear you talk about Zen Heart Way. So I think maybe the Sangha doesn't know that much about it. But we do have some stories posted on our website about the names of the people are anonymous. They're not the real names, but you might go to the website and read some of the stories of the people that have been a part of that. So there's a beautiful book that I read many years ago called The Gift by Lewis Hyde. It's just one of the most remarkable books I've ever read, where he talks about how gift giving is a part of what glues cultures together, that we give gifts at important rites of passage at, when someone's married, or we give gifts when someone graduates from school. And that gift giving in indigenous cultures anyway is it's considered a gift. The gift is a gift if it moves. It has to move. So the gift is given, and then you give the gift to your next generation, your grandchildren or something, and there's a story that goes with the gift. And one definition of capitalism that he made in the book, which was really funny, he said capitalism is when you withdraw the gift from moving and you want to put it in a vault. Then that's, it's no longer a gift because it's not given, it's not moving. So I really enjoyed your talk this morning. I hope you all consider supporting the Zen Heart Way, because there's a lot of, with the inflation the way it is now, there's a lot of people struggling to make ends meet. Thank you, Gyokuzan.
Thank you.
Going for a walk, good day.
Thank you, Linda. I thought your talk was wonderful. It really inspired me, hit me. I think you're right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Gyokuzan. This is Jackie and Patrick. We are up on the screen. But good morning, but we're moving, so we don't have the video on. So good morning, Roshi and Sensei, and good morning, Senga. What a terrific Dharma this morning. I am just so grateful and touched to just know you more from hearing you. And I loved when you said that other people are us, but then you said, but we are also in them. And it really just struck me and came to mind that, I can trust my basic goodness. And when you said, I am in them, like in my arch enemy, not just, that accepting they are me, but I am them, not in an egotistical way, but just a reminder how to keep my mind and my speech and myself, because I am in them. And, perhaps just one of the seeds of compassion or love or kindness that will, bloom in them. It was really profound and loving. And, I'm just smiling, seeing you and hearing you. And thank you so much for just a lovely talk this morning. Thank you so much.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you very much, Gyokuzan. A wonderful talk today on generosity. And, we've been studying the Dana Paramita in our Zen Life series, and how important that is to practice as a basis for our work as bodhisattvas in the world. And yes, I agree with Jackie. That was such a beautiful thing to say, that we are part of everybody, so we're definitely part of our enemies, and how how do we treat ourselves too? Are we generous to ourselves when we fall off the path, right? Can we just be bearing witness to what, instead of criticizing ourselves, right? That's an act of generosity as well. So if you can be gentle with yourself, then it's easier to be gentle with others, which is another beautiful interdependent teaching. So thank you very much.
It's being generous to yourself is a whole Dharma talk by itself.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, just wanted to say thank you. And I know what really stands out for me and is just, well, I appreciate you talking about, giving, the giver being free to give, the receiver being free to receive, and knowing, at least in my experience in society, we're trained to share gratitude. We're taught to share gratitude, to say thank you, to offer our appreciation. And there may be moments where, as you gave an example of just this power differential is helping someone and being in a place of superiority and helping someone, and just offers me an additional opportunity to reflect on the motivation for giving. It does feel good, but what else might be coming with that? And am I giving for other reasons? Really taking a moment to reflect and just kind of notice and understand. So thank you.
I really like that comparison to the monk, just because I'm trying to like understand the way that you're describing giving. And the first way you described it, it kind of sounded more like a transaction. But when we think of transactions, it's always like some physical piece. But if we feel good, then it is kind of like a transaction in that way, or like an exchange. So we feel good, but it seems like we also feel bad, because if we're sacrificing something that we value, it's because we're attached to it. And then that comparison to the monk, it's like if we remove that feeling of attachment, but we also remove that personal piece, then it's just kind of giving in itself, right? And so in that way, we remove both of that feeling of attachment, that bad feeling, and the good feeling, and it's just purely giving. That's what made me think of it in that way.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yes, it gets freely given.